Hey guys, welcome to another New World video. So guys, it's finally here. They've announced the live release for the July update, and it will happen tomorrow, July 28th at 5 a.m. So without wasting any time, because this is a big one, let's have a look briefly at everything we can expect so that we will be ready to hit the ground running for this massive update. So the first thing that you will want to do when you log in is take part in the Medley Fair event. This event is of course music and fishing themed, and will allow you to net some amazing new rewards. In the form of house decor, skins, mounted fish trophies, even a trophy that allows you to get 10% more fishing experience. There are blueprints from this event that also allow you to craft 600 gear score gear guaranteed without even having the required trade skill to make 600 gear score gear. So yeah, this one is pretty exciting. Just like the Christmas event, you will begin your journey by setting out to one of the 4 event villages found of course in Brightwood, Everfall, Weaver's Fen, and Monarch's Bluff. From here, the Maestro will send you out on a quest chain, which you will want to complete in order to unlock an event-exclusive song for your new trade skill. Also, you will find adornments in each settlement, which you will click daily for a present and reputation, so don't forget that as well. Your best and fastest way to gain reputation with the Maestro, though, will be by dancing once per day in each of the event villages, so don't miss this either. I have posted a video on the event, which I will link in the description if you want more information. And next up, this event brings with it the new musician trade skill. There are 5 new instruments that you can play in New World, and 31 songs you can collect and learn. These instruments are the guitar, the mandolin, the upright bass, the drums, and the Azoth flute. The various songs you can collect will be collected around the world, from chests, crates, mob drops, and from completing the summer event quests. You will now be able to craft instruments using the furniture trade skill, and a cool side aspect to this is the materials for these instruments are from fishing. So finally there's a point to fishing. Once you have your instruments, press F5 and perform. After each performance you will be awarded musician experience and of course a buff. These buffs are Dedicatedly Dexterous, gathering speed increased by 75%. This can range from 30 to 90 minutes. Territorial Triumph, territory standing bonuses increased by 10 to 30% for 30 to 90 minutes. Altogether now, group experience sharing bonus increased by 4 to 15% for 30 to 90 minutes. Song in Your Step reduces player encumbrance by 200 to 1000 for 30 to 90 minutes. And Fortune's Favor, gathering yield increased by 3 to 10% for 30 to 90 minutes. And Luck's Labor, gathering luck increased by 2 to 5% for 30 to 90 minutes. I recently posted a musician guide you can find in the description. The only mistake I did make in it was the length of the buffs. I said an hour in my guide, but I was wrong. I must have written it down wrong when I was taking my notes. I do apologize. The ranges listed here are the correct ones. The next big thing coming along with this update is the new pirate-themed Lost Expedition, the Barnacles and Black Powder. Admiral Black Powder and his crew have arrived in Eternum and have set camp in Cutlass Keys. Questgivers in Cutlass Keys settlement and the new docks on the territory's eastern shore will be looking to offer you loot and renown for defeating the despicable evil within the new Barnacles and Black Powder expedition. We won't see the mutator for this expedition this week, however. It is scheduled to release in 2 weeks, but when it does, you will expect to see 3 new mutations joining their mutation rotation. These are Icebound. Icebound features mutations that deal ice damage, apply slow, and spawn glacial crystals with area effects. Oppressive, enemies gain powerful abilities like mana drains and zones of silence, which prevent ability usage for a short period of time. And Frenzied, this variant applies curses to players that dodge. Curses stack up and deal damage over time. When Frenzied reaches 3 stacks, it detonates. This explosion deals additional damage to the player and leaves an elemental damage area of effect. And with the release of this expedition, they have also released the new Group Finder tool. With this feature, you'll be able to access a specific group finder for each expedition, accessed through the expedition UI or related expedition map icons. Browse listings created by other players or post your own requests to join other players on your server. The tool allows players to declare their preferred team roles such as DPS, tank, or healer, and recruit based on those roles. You can also set recruiting requirements like minimum gear score and level, then inspect potential members to learn their average gear score, weapons, and mastery levels. This tool should work to go a long way for those solo players to be able to find groups much easier. They have also removed the expedition tuning orbs from the game with this update and replaced them with daily and weekly limits instead. The limits are 15 normal expedition runs per player per day, or 105 per week per player, and 25 mutated expedition runs per week. And in an attempt to honor the value of the player's time and investment, they won't simply be deleting your expedition orbs you may have already stored away. They will be replaced with loot chests for each expedition that the orb that you had was associated with. For normal expeditions, the caches will reward a roll from the sub-boss and the main boss found in that specific expedition, and grant coin equal to 50% the cost previously associated with buying the specific type of orb from the faction shop. For the mutated expeditions, the caches will reward 4 boss rolls off the final boss of 4 eligible mutators, and the coin equal to 50% the cost previously associated with buying the specific type of orb from the faction shop. So if you had a bunch of these on hand, be sure to check your bags for these new cache. And because these tuning orbs have been removed, they have reworked the use of corrupt stones you received during doing portals. You can now craft territory supplies. Players can now craft 4 different tiers of territory supplies, which provide the player with large amounts of territory standing in their current territory. Territory supplies will cost different tiers of materials and volumes of corrupted fragments, stone, and wood depending on the tier of the supplies. Players can craft each tier of territory items 8 times per week. We also will see a massive loot rebalance with this update. They have moved roughly 50% of the coin generated from expedition bosses, and have instead spread it out between elite chests and darkness breaches completion. To help compensate for the reduction, twice a day players can loot elite chests in the open world or complete minor or major darkness breaches to earn a bag of coins. Each bag contains 500 coins. And on top of this, they have added Materia, a new crafting resource to the game. Materia is a new type of resource that can be used to craft your desired drop that drop from bosses within expeditions. There are 2 ways to obtain this resource. Any named item obtained from an expedition can now be salvaged into materia of the corresponding expedition type, in addition to receiving materia when defeating the main boss of an expedition. There will be a specific materia type associated with each expedition, so be aware that in order to craft like a Lazarus bow, for example, you will require Lazarus materia, which is generated by completing bosses and salvaging the named drops within that expedition. They have also changed the loot and mutator slightly in order to make the progression through the difficulties feel more fluid and less painful. What this means is they changed what items unlock at which difficulty level, which should result in a wider variety of lower level rewards. In addition, they've also added another accessory to each mutator. Previously, each mutator dropped 2 of the 3 types of accessories. Now each mutator can drop all available types. The next big change in this update is one I hope will finally fix the desyncing and lag a lot of us feel while playing in the open world, and this is they have now instanced wars. Previously, while 1 or more wars were going on, server performance could become degraded. This could result in latency spikes for players in the war and the surrounding areas. They have rebuilt the underlying technology to improve performance. We'll see if this change really affects anything. I really hope it does. They have also done a huge perk rebalance with this patch, adjusting 150 perks to make them more useful and competitive compared to some of the best perks in the game. Skill-specific weapon perks are now more powerful. They also tweaked how perks are calculated. An example they give of this change is that the trade skill drop chance on earrings now has a very low chance on drops, and they have increased the combat-focused perks players get from earrings. They've basically touched on almost every perk in the game. I won't go over a full list, but if you would like to see that list, it is posted in the link in the description. They have also improved loot quality you will see on the drops. What this means is they have improved the loot roll you will receive based on your expertise level. So players at 60 with high expertise should now see a lot more epic and rare loot quality commonly, instead of common or uncommon. They have also tweaked how the loot you receive rolls, increasing your chances at getting items with perks like Keen, and greatly lowering your chances of getting roll perks like Beastbane. However, all the rolls are still random. The hope was just to improve your overall chances at usable loot. They have also adjusted many of the world boss levels to put them at 63, and on top of that increased the gear score range on the potential gear from the creatures of this level. So now you will be able to farm the world bosses for 590 to 600 gear score gear, where it was not possible before. Following is a list of the named enemies that have been updated to 63, so they have the potential to grant 600 gear score drops now. In Eden Grove, they've updated Banes, Kale, and a Georgian. In Old Mirkgard Forest, Unhallowed Soul of Mirkgard has been updated to 63. In Halo Visage, High Priest Osaguera has been updated. In the Balebane Maw, Articulon the Unshackled and Mosral the Herald have both been updated to 63. In Caminus, the Caminus Gatelord and Overseer Levy have both been updated to 63. In the Spaleo Cavern, Ziwang the Immovable and Duo Shen the Unstoppable both have been updated to 63 and can now drop any of their named items at 600 gear score. In East Lerman, Luca has been updated to 63. In West Lerman, Pitlord Dehi has been updated to 63. In the Congregation, the Meyerpaw has been updated to level 63. In the Lambent Muskeg, the Blightbringer has been updated to 63. In Maria's Rest, Smoothbore Samuel has been updated to 63. In Ska Makage, sorry for my pronunciation of that place, Thorn of the Heartwood has been updated to 63. And in the Serenity Monastery, Nasher has been updated to 63. In the Skysong Crypt, Ivan the Inevitable, Mordecai the Mortician, Slayer Rosalind, and Farley have all been updated to 63. So any of the named bosses that I just listed can drop gear item level 600 at a very low chance, but they still can, so it's great that we can now farm world bosses for potential loot. I posted a list and a test run on these world bosses during the PTR. You can find the link in the description. Another change long overdue coming with this patch is they have adjusted the loot from gypsum casts we open. They have improved the likelihood of epic and rare rolls, and on top of that they have increased the range of expertise you receive when opening a cast. A great change for sure, especially for those that are relatively new 60s. In this patch, they have also reworked the salvaging system in the game, making it feel a lot more rewarding when you're salvaging all that gear you've crafted and collected. They have made salvaging more rewarding through the introduction of perfect salvages. Whenever players salvage items, they will now have a chance to perform a perfect salvage, which can reward them with research materials that can be used to gain crafting trade skill experience, special orbs that can be converted into gypsum casts that bypass the normal daily limit, and materials to fabricate special items, like the stopwatch, which is amazing. It adds +3 gear score potential to your crafts, so changing what we had in 595 to 600 to now 598 to 600 when crafting high-end gear. You also now, while salvaging, have a chance with high-level items that you had crafted to receive a cooldown material from your salvage instead of simply common ones, so Asmodium instead of just orichalcum ingots. So salvaging is a ton better now. You feel rewarded while salvaging all your scrap gear instead of it just being a chore. They have in this update also made changes to all of the trade skills, all the way from gathering to crafting. So let's quickly have a look at these changes now. So for gathering, they've reduced the logging experience required to level from 1 to 50 by 15%. They've reduced the logging experience required to level from 51 to 200 by 20%. And they've reduced the fishing experience required to level from 1 to 200 by 50%, which is huge. If you take into account they also added the new fishing trophies, which give a 10% increase to fishing experience gained. They reworked the experience curve for the first 26 levels of fishing. Now for refining, they've removed tiers from regions, tannins, fluxes, sandpapers, weaves, and solvents, with the goal of simplifying these into a single tier, giving potency of tier 5 regions to help players progress trade skills more efficiently and reduce the friction of converting. I don't know how I feel about this change. It will have a big effect on the market. It does make leveling your trade skills easier, but easier isn't always better. In any event, they've also reduced the leatherworking experience required to level from 1 to 200 by 10%. They've reduced the smelting experience required to level from 1 to 200 by 10%. They've reduced the weaving experience required to level from 1 to 200 by 15%. And they've reduced the woodworking experience required to level from 1 to 200 by 15%. They've reduced stonecutting experience as well to level from 1 to 200 by 20%. Now for crafting, they have improved the amount of trade skill experience you will get from tier 4 and tier 5 crafted items for all skills. They've reduced the furnishing experience required to level from 1 to 200 by a full 20. And they've reduced the trade skill experience required for weaponsmithing and furnishing for levels 1 to 200. So furniture should be a lot easier now for you guys who still haven't maxed it and we're dreading it. And the crafting, gathering, and refining clothing. They've rebalanced the drop chances and the locations of all the trade skill clothing to better improve their availability. Almost all of the drop locations have changed for the crafting gear, as well as a new pattern has been added to all tier 3 aptitude crates for every skill. When you open, for example, a tier 3 weaponsmithing aptitude crate, you have a chance of receiving a pattern. This pattern you can then take to the outfitter station to craft a piece of crafter gear of the associated set, so in this case weaponsmithing, any piece you require. These patterns exist for every crafting and refining skill, even fishing. And next they have made a ton of weapon changes. Unfortunately, I won't be covering all of those. There are simply too many and this video would be an hour long. Although I have included a link to the patch notes in the description. Because honestly, there are way too many weapon changes, perk changes, and minor fixes for me to sit here and list for 3 or 4 hours. If you want to know these specific small details, feel free to check the link. I just wanted to cover the broad strokes here in the interest of time. I will be covering things more closely in upcoming videos, including a video that we'll be releasing in a couple days, covering the new drop locations for all the crafter gear. I have to say I am excited for this update. I had a blast on the PTR playing, but do I think it is a game savior? No. But it is definitely worth coming back to get all of the goodies in the event, to try the new trade skill, and see if you like the way things are going. What do you guys think? Are you excited for this update? Is there anything about it you definitely are not looking forward to? Let me know in the comments. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.